The Last Thing You Told Me by Laura Dave. Sorry, we're open. Jake's words pound in my head. Owen Michaels doesn't exist. Owen isn't Owen. He's deceived me about the most central details of his life. He deceived his daughter about the most central details of hers. How is that possible? It feels entirely impossible, considering the man I thought I knew. I do know him. I still believe this, despite the evidence to the contrary. And this belief in him and us will either show me to be the steadfast partner or a complete fool. Hopefully, those don't turn out to be the same thing. After all, this is what I thought I knew. 28 months ago, a man walked into my workshop in New York City wearing a sport jacket and Converse sneakers. On the way to the theater that night, he took me to dinner at a small tapas restaurant on 10th Avenue, and he started to tell me the story of his life. It began in Newton, Massachusetts, and included 4 years at Newton High, followed by 4 years at Princeton University, a move to Seattle, Washington, with his college sweatshirt, and then a move to Sausalito, California, with his daughter. There were 3 jobs and 2 degrees, and 1 wife before me, who he'd lost in a car accident. It was a car accident he could barely talk about more than a decade later, his face cloudy and dark. Then there was his daughter, the highlight of his story, the highlight of his life, his headstrong, inimitable daughter. He moved with her to a small town in Northern California because she'd pointed to it on a map and said, "Let's try there." And that was something he could give her. This is what his daughter thought she knew. She had spent the majority of her life in Sausalito, California, in a floating home with her father, who never missed a soccer game or a school play. There were Sunday night dinners at restaurants of her choosing and a weekly trip to the movies. There were lots of jaunts to San Francisco museums, plenty of neighborhood potlucks, and the annual barbecue. She didn't remember their life before Sausalito, except in vague snapshots. A birthday party with a great musician, a trip to the circus where she cried at the clown, a wedding somewhere in Austin, Texas. Bailey filled in the blanks with what her father told her. Why wouldn't she? That's how you fill in the blanks, with stories and memories from the people who love you. If they lie to you like he did, who are you then? Who is he? The person you thought you knew, your favorite person, starts to disappear, a mirage, unless you convince yourself the parts that matter are still true. The love was true. His love is true, because if it isn't, the other option is that it was all a lie. And what are you supposed to do with that? What are you supposed to do with any of this? How do you put the pieces together so he doesn't disappear completely? So his daughter doesn't feel like she's going to disappear completely too. Bailey wakes up shortly after midnight. She rubs her eyes, then she looks over to find me sitting in the crappy hotel desk chair, watching her. "Did I fall asleep?" she says. "You did. What time is it?" she says. "Late. You should go back to bed." She sits up. "It's kind of hard with you staring at me," she says. "Bailey, did you ever visit your father's childhood home in Boston?" I say. "Did he ever take you to see his house?" She looks at me confused. "Like where he grew up?" I nod. "No, he never took me to Boston. He barely went back there himself." "And you never met your grandparents?" I say. "You never spent any time with them?" "They died before I was born," she says. "You know that. What's going on?" Who's going to fill in the blank for this kind of hole? I don't know where to start. "Are you hungry?" I say. "You must be hungry. You barely touched your dinner, and I'm famished." "Why? You ate both our dinners all on your own." "Get dressed, okay?" I say. "Would you get dressed?" She looks at the fluorescent hotel radio clock. It's midnight, she says. I put a sweater on and toss the sweatshirt to her. She looks down at it, splayed across her legs, her Converse sneakers peeking out beneath the hood. She pulls the sweatshirt over her hood, pushing the hood all the way down until her purple hair is sticking out. Can I at least get a beer? She says. Absolutely not. I have a fake ID that says otherwise, she says. Please get dressed, I say. Magnolia Cafe is an Austin institution famous for all-night eats, which might explain why it is still busy. Music playing, every booth taken at 12:45 a.m. We get 2 large coffees and an order of gingerbread pancakes. Bailey seems to love the sweet, spice-filled pancakes dripping in butter and coconut sugar. Bananas on the side. And watching her take them down, if nothing else, makes me feel like I'm doing something good for her. We sit by the door, a neon red "Sorry We're Open" sign flashing above our heads. I blink against it and try to find the words to tell her what Jake told me. It seems that your father hasn't always gone by the name Owen Michaels, I say. She looks up at me. What are you talking about? She says. I speak softly but unapologetically, filling her in. I let her know that her father's name isn't the only thing he's changed. The details of his life, the story of his life, are something he's apparently altered as well. He didn't grow up in Massachusetts. He isn't a graduate of Princeton University, and he didn't move to Seattle at 22. At least he hasn't done those things in a way that we can prove. Who told you that? A friend back in New York. He works in an investigator who focuses on this kind of thing. The investigator believes that your father changed his identity shortly before you moved to Sausalito. He's sure of it. She looks down at her plate, confused, like she's heard the words wrong, all of it feeling impossible to compute. Why would he do that? She says, not meeting my eyes. My guess is he was trying to keep you safe from something, Bailey. Like what? Like something he did? Because my father would be the first to say that if you're running from something, it's usually yourself. You don't know that for sure. Right. All we know for sure is that he lied to me, she says. And I see it start to rise up in her eyes, in her anger, her justifiable anger at being excluded from the most basic details of her life, even if he was doing it for her own good, even if he was doing it because he didn't have a choice. One way or another, she's going to have to decide whether that's forgivable. We both are. He also lied to me, I say. She looks up. I'm just saying he lied to me too. She tilts her head, like she's trying to figure out whether she believes that, whether she can take that at face value. Why would she? Why would she believe anyone at this point? But it feels critical to try and assure her anyway, assure that she can trust me, that I didn't deceive her too. It feels like everything hinges on her believing that. She looks at me with such vulnerability. It's hard for me to speak. It's hard for me to even hold her gaze without breaking down, which is when I understand in a flash what I've been doing wrong with her, what I've been doing wrong with, and how I've been trying to connect with her. I thought if I were nice enough, sweet enough, she'd understand she could count on me. But that's not how you learn you can count on someone. You learn it in the moments when everyone's too hard to be sweet, too hard to try hard. You learn it by what they do for you then. And what I'm going to do for her now is what my grandfather did for me. I'll do whatever it takes for her to feel that she's safe. So it wasn't just him, right? She says. If he did this, I'm not who he said I'm either then, right? My name and everything. At some point, he changed it. Yes, I say. If Jake's correct, then yes, he used to go by something else as well. And all the details are different too, right? She pauses. Like my birthday? That stops me. The heartbreak in her voice when she asks that question. Like my birthday's not really my birthday, she says. No, probably not. She looks down. She looks away from me. That seems like something a person should know about themselves, she says. I fight back tears, gripping the table. The small table in this happy Austin restaurant. Paintings on the wall, bright colors, all of it completely antithetical to how I feel. I willed myself to stop, blinking the tears back. A 16-year-old girl who apparently has no one but me needs me not to cry. She needs me to be there for her. So I pull myself together, giving her the space to fall apart, letting her be the one to do that. She folds her hands on the table, tears filling her eyes, and I feel nearly leveled by it, watching her in that kind of pain. Bailey, I know this feels impossible, I say, but you are you. Whatever details are around that, whatever your father didn't tell you, that doesn't change who you are, not at your core. But how can I have no memory of being called something else? Of where I lived? I should remember, shouldn't I? You just said it yourself. You were a kid. You were just coming into consciousness when you became Bailey Michaels. None of this is a reflection on you at all. Just on him, she says. I think again about the guy at the Berkeley flea market. The guy who called Owen a prom king. Owen's calm reaction to him. He was completely unfazed. Could he have faked that so well? And what did it say about him if it did? You don't remember anything about calling your father anything else, do you, before Sausalito? Like a nickname, she says? No, more like by another name completely. I don't think so. I don't know. She pushes her coffee across the table. I can't believe this is happening. I know. She starts twirling her hair in her hands, the purple getting mixed up with her dark nail polish, her eyes blinking wildly as she tries to think. I have no idea what anyone called him, she says. I never paid attention. Why would I? She sits back, done guessing about her father, done guessing about her past, and completely exhausted from feeling like she has to. Who can blame her? Who wants to be sitting in a strange Austin restaurant, trying to figure out who the most important person in your world was pretending to be, and how you missed it, who he actually was. You know what? Let's just go, I say. It's late. Let's go back to the hotel and try to get some sleep. I start to stand up, but Bailey stops me. Wait, she says. I sit back down. Bobby said something to me a couple months ago, she said. He was applying to college and wanted to ask my father for an alumni recommendation for Princeton. But when he looks him up in the list of alums, he said he couldn't find an Owen Michaels anywhere, not as a graduate in the engineering school, not as a student in the regular college either. I said obviously looked it up in the wrong place, and then he got into University of Chicago and just dropped it. I never ever remembered to ask that, but I just assumed it was Bobby not knowing how to work the alumni database or whatever. She pauses. Maybe I should have asked him. Bailey, why would you? Why would you assume he was lying to you? Do you think he was ever going to tell me? She says, did he plan to take me for a walk one day and let me in on who I really am? Honestly, was he going to tell me that basically everything I knew about my life was a lie? I look at her in the dim light. I think of my conversation with Owen, the conversation about taking a vacation to New Mexico. Was he actually thinking of letting me into some of this then? If I pushed a little harder, would he have? I don't know, I say. I expect her to say how unfair that is. I expect her to get upset again, but she stays calm. What's he so scared of? She says. It stops me, because that's it. That feels like the crux of all of this. Owen is running from something that he's terrified of. He has spent his life running from it, and more important, he has spent his entire life trying to keep Bailey from it. I think when we figure that out, we'll know where he is now. I say, oh well, easy enough, she says. Then she laughs, but the laughter turns fast, tears filling her eyes. But just as I think she's going to say that she wants to get out of here, that she wants to go back to the hotel, to go back to Sausalito, she seems to find her center. She seems to find something like resolve. So what do we do now? She says. What do we do now? We are in this together, it seems, which warms my heart, even if it is taking us to this all-night dinner in South Austin, far from our home, even if it's taken us into territory we never wanted to be in, that I would give everything so that Bailey didn't have to be in. We're here together, and we both want to keep going. We both want to find Owen, whatever he has been hiding, whatever he is now. Now, I say, we fix this.